Empire. The AI that is helping teams have a stronger presence with their fans.
When you think about technology inflection points, when electricity, the TV, the radio, the cell phone, World Wide Web, every one of these big technology inflection points occurred, a lot of jobs got redefined. With marketing and sales, the jobs don't even get redefined. They just get more productive.
That's Jim Kaskade, CEO of Conversica, who is shepherding a new era of large language model communication. This is the Future Sport Podcast. I'm Bram Weinstein. Chatbots have been part of communication with customers for a long time now, but the advancement of AI opens the door for a new level of engagement and an opportunity for teams and leagues to have stronger connections with their customer base. Our guest this week is Jim Kaskade. He's the CEO of Conversica, which is an AI company that is a self-learning model company that's derived from billions of human interactions, and they're working with sports teams and leagues to help their marketing and sales funnels. Hi, Jim. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me, Bram.
I probably did not explain what your company does very well. Why don't you tell us what you do?
Well, I'll first start with it is so crazy fun to be in this space with artificial intelligence. There's probably not one human on the planet that doesn't appreciate what's going on in my space now, given the, OpenAI and Microsoft, ChatGPT, et cetera. For us specifically, we're working with about 1,000 clients, customers, who have use cases where they like to engage their end customers, the people that, use their products and services, in a much more personalized way. And our AI is extremely human-like, and it plays some specific roles in the organizations that adopt us. We're very focused on marketing and sales, and on the other side, also on customer success, meaning in the sports world, ticket sales, and we're helping on ticket membership, kind of just serving the existing fans. And it's pretty exciting. The AI gets adopted almost like a digital employee or team member. In some cases, they celebrate the birthdays of their AI, and they even put jerseys with numbers and the names of their AI. I have one in my office from one of our sports teams. And, at the end of the day, what really matters is the fans get that kind of personalized white glove treatment, with instant, outreach, personalized one-to-one discussions, two-way dialogue that just, is unheard of, right? I think most people think of AI as some stupid chatbot that gives you 4 bubble clicks. And in our case, it's almost like, it is. You can't tell the difference between a human and your digital employee that's being deployed. I'll just finish, we have about 50 sports teams across 10 leagues, and they love it. I mean, the fans love it. And of course, the teams love it because the fans love it. So let me stop there.
Okay. So when you say human-like, can you be a little more specific in what you mean by that in the interactions that a fan or a customer would have with one of these AI models?
Yeah, I mean, it starts with, okay, so most listeners will go, well, how does this AI talk to me? Does it call me on the phone? Does it text me? Does it get on my messaging apps? Is it email? Is it chat? And the answer is yes to all of that, right? So there's really no boundary in terms of digital channel. It's just a question of where are you and what's important to you as a fan. If you're in email and you're, let's say you go to a website of a sports team and you engage with their digital chat, there might be a conversation, and that may be taken to SMS, then to email. And the conversations that you have could be as simple as, hey, can you point me to the information for the stadium parking on the next game? And the digital assistant will be able to give you that information. So some of it's informational, but a lot of it has to do with, two-way dialogue that has specific, let's say, use cases or outcomes that it's trying to drive the fans towards. And I'll describe those in a minute. But in terms of the actual conversation, it interprets what you say, and then it takes that interpretation and it takes the next action based on that. So, if you come in and you're like, hey, I'm interested in participating in the next giveaway or sweepstakes, the AI goes, great, here's how you do that, and here's the information for it. Or I'm a ticket buyer, I want to get some season tickets. Okay, great. Here's the information on season tickets. Can I connect you to a salesperson, to talk about that? And so the dialogue is dynamic. The AI never says the same thing twice, so it's not like a canned response. It changes its response based on what you say, your tone, your sentiment. And because of that, guess what? It's very human-like. Now, someone will say, well, okay, how accurate is that? We hear a lot about these things with accuracy and hallucinations and what have you with the new large language model tech. Well, we sample every day. We've got folks that look at all the conversations across our network, and they sample every day. And 98 out of 100 times, the AI interprets you properly and takes the right next best action. That combination, you can't interpret it and then take the wrong action, or the other way around. You have to have both. So that means what? It's better than a human, because humans interpret, they're about low 80s. So you and I, when we have dialogues, we may misrepresent, misinterpret. With the AI, it doesn't misinterpret. And the great thing is, doesn't take coffee breaks, doesn't ask for raises. It's always, available, even in after hours, which is cool. And then finally, it's always on brand, always on message, because it's programmed to be as such. So it's your best employee. And it can have a conversation in English, which is where all the teams are in North America, but it supports over 75 languages globally, because a lot of our clients are big and global.
So do you envision a time where teams don't have sales and marketing teams, that it is all AI?
Never. Yeah. So here's the reason for that. I mean, when you think about technology inflection points, when electricity, the TV, the radio, the cell phone, World Wide Web, every one of these big technology inflection points occurred, a lot of jobs got redefined. With marketing and sales, the jobs don't even get redefined. They just get more productive. And so imagine how big your marketing teams are in any company, especially sports teams. You don't have a lot of velocity or a lot of capacity to do a lot of menial tasks. Sales teams, inside sales teams, typically sports teams just don't have an overly invested number of people. And so what do you do with AI? It's kind of like having an administrative assistant. Every employee in every role in every company should have a helper. And if you did, what would you hand them? You'd hand them the dirty work, right?
Yeah.
So the AI does all the dirty work, and then it basically lays up the fan when they're ready, and that we call it sales ready for the ticketing sales, obviously. And then the sales team gets this person that's literally ready to buy, upgrade, expand. Not any of the kind of initial discovery, Q&A, hey, I'm busy, call me in 2 weeks after my vacation, all these things, right, that just naturally occur in the sales process. The AI takes all of that hard work away and allows the real human sales team members to then kind of focus on getting to know the customer, giving that more, again, white glove treatment of truly high value conversations, not transactional, because they're not under pressure anymore to just get through as many people as possible to find the needles in the haystack of folks that are actually ready to move versus just discovering and, kind of investigating. Does that make sense?
Yeah, Let me back up for a moment. So you obviously are very proud of the development of how personal that this technology has become. It's not what it used to be, where it would just pop up and ask you questions and repeat itself and offer you two or three options, to answer a question that it asks you. Can you talk about that development and what has happened through the years to make this a more personal experience with the technology?
Love to. And then bring me back to some of the specific use cases, because I do want, folks listening to understand exactly what the AI does for teams. So, the development of the technology, which kind of gives me goosebumps, because when I jumped into this business in 2019, I was hiking with the head of AI in the Google CTO office, who was telling me about what's coming. Now, remember, 2019, all right? ChatGPT, for all those listeners, that's about November 2022, okay? So almost 3 years, a little over 3 years later. So what happened over the several years in this world? Well, I'll describe it this way. We started adopting what's called this, large language model technology. OpenAI is the company that's been innovating the most with Microsoft's backing. We used what's called GPT 2.0 back in the day, and it would be about 60% accurate. No, 40% accurate. 40% accurate. So less than 1 out of 2 times, it would tell you the right answer. Well, that didn't quite work for us. Neither did it work for the teams or any enterprise company. That was in 2020. 2021, it was about 60% accurate. So still, not ready for prime time, right? Unless you're, a small business where when you order pizza with pepperoni, you get Canadian bacon instead. Then it's like 2022, 85%. Okay, now we're getting closer. Now, 2023, we're at 100% accuracy, which is what the big brands really need. They don't want, wrong answers. And they don't want it to talk about things that are, off messaging. Let's take it to a different, completely different vertical. Let's say you're Coke. You don't want it to talk about Pepsi. You're Nike. You don't want it to talk about Adidas, right? So there are a lot of cases where it has to be really accurate. We're there now. Now, what does this tech do and why is it so powerful? Well, it does a couple things. One, it's cloud enabled. You can do it at scale. And two, these AI algorithms have had a massive breakthrough because of the Google Brain or DeepMind teams at Google back in 2017, figured out how to create a model that analyzes people's inputs and can analyze what you say in no particular order. So you can have the English language, you can put things at the end of a sentence, beginning of a sentence, you can move things around. And this model really understands how to make references and relationships across multiple content items, AKA what we say, and speak into these models in such a way where, oh my God, you can get just relative reference to something. What does that mean? It means that you can say anything to this AI and it'll interpret you really, really well. And it'll give you extremely kind of, let's call it prose, really nice language constructed responses. They're just beautifully constructed. Go play with ChatGPT if you haven't already. You know what I mean if you have. So just think of that now for the enterprise. Think that for the sports team specifically. And then the last thing I'll say is a lot of these models were programmed on a lot of information that's available publicly. And because they're general, call it general is the term, they're really good in terms of being broad, a lot of information broad, but they're less accurate or less, on target for a specific brand. Of course, these large language models have a lot about the San Jose earthquakes, but not everything. And so what we've done at Conversica is we take all the team's information and we create a model specifically for the team. Now, what does that mean? It means it's going to get things right, and it's focused on your brand, so it's only going to talk about your brand. And I'll say that's 99% of the content. The 1% is the general stuff, because sometimes you talk about, so how does football work generally? and what's the history of the Super Bowl generally? And that's not specific to the sports team. So maybe the general models will give you the answer for that. And then we put a bunch of filtering around it. So you can't ask it dumb questions and it won't give you stupid answers, So we try to be brand safe. So we don't want inappropriate questions that, you can come up with your own version of what inappropriate means when fans get excited. So, we just make sure that doesn't get fed in or produced in the general models that are answering that 1% of general stuff, plus the 99% of the team-specific stuff. It's just a beautiful combination that results in the best experience possible. Make sense?
Yes. Future Sport is a presentation of Empire Media, a B2B and B2C podcast and digital company dedicated to making your business or brand be heard. Internal or external content creation that will have a lasting impact on your strategy. Consulting, creation, and production, all to help you effectively communicate your message in any marketplace. Learn more at ampiremedia.com, AMPIRE media.com. Let's continue our conversation with Jim Kaskade, the CEO of Conversica. All right, so when team you and said, we want to work with you, what were they telling you they needed your help with?
I'll tell you the general theme, at least on the ticket sales side, is reach as many fans as you possibly can, right? Which again is an issue when you have a small team. And so when I looked at, the earthquake specifically, I was getting excited because I was seeing just in the last year, 39,000 fans in the last 12 months. Now, that may not sound like a lot to you, but it is for a team that's small. But what's even more important is it wasn't just the fan, but it was 218,000 back and forth exchanges between those fans. So it's like massive amount of communication going on that really kind of equates to a large team. You're getting, I think, unlimited capacity because it's cloud. So you can think of it as a digital employee that just can go as far as you want it to. And as many fans as you can possibly give it to reach out to. So that to me is kind of the exciting multiplier effect that you get from using something like this that all the teams are thinking about. But let me get more specific. Okay, so we're trying to generate interest and reaching these new or old cold fans, with the earthquake specifically, because I know you guys were asking about them. They're trying to win back old fans, folks that maybe have bought a ticket in the past but have just gone dormant. And so you're reaching out to those folks. And then when you start to engage them, they become what we call warm, right? Because they're talking to you and you're just kind of following up with them on their potential interest. In that case, people ask again, well, how did you find them? Or what did you use to engage them? Well, they could be visiting your website and they could be filling out a form or coming in through chat, or they responded to a fan, newsletter. They had a mobile app, installed and engaged it that way. And in all these cases, we're following up either via chat or SMS or email, typical channels. But the key thing for the teams then is to drive people to buying tickets and then getting to the pregame happy hours, the fan fest, the draft and watch parties, and trialing new seats even. It's pretty cool. And the AI handles all of that, right? And then when the game's over, you can do any of those things, right? You can follow up again on Fan Fest and post-game happy hours and things like that. Now, reactivating dormant fans is a theme, right? So it's age buyers, people, dated in their attendance, and then there's even beyond that, there's wait lists, folks that are on wait lists that we like to communicate with via the AI to kind of keep them up to date and status going on. And then as you really get more engaged fans and you're not trying to, win back the old ones, but you're servicing, people who have bought tickets and are a little more active, then it's season tickets, right? You're trying to upsell them to those, and I think there's a lot of kind of contact us and information exchange that gets scaled, and I think this really helps the sales teams get to what's really meaningful, which is a conversation about, what's needed for these fans when they're ready. I think transferring game tickets is a big one. Our AI automates that, and even helping purchase team merchandise is a big one for everything and everything sales. So that's the sales side of it for the most part. And that's a pretty big item. I could talk about, other membership, kind of more on the back end and more on the loyal fan base. There's a ton of use cases there too.
All right, let's finish there then. Could you give me one of those on the membership side?
Yeah, so you'll actually, get a season ticket purchase, and then you onboard them. So you want to send them the information, kind of give them everything they need to know, automate that initial onboarding sequence to make it, again, feel white glove is kind of the best way I can describe it. Then there's, guess what? When you bought the season tickets, then the next big issue is getting them to come, actually get their butts in seats, right? So the spotty attendance record for season ticket holders is a game-changing opportunity for AI to get in there, because it's reminding you and it's helping you remember that you've got those tickets and you should get the family to go if you can't, what have you, or friends. Renewals, there's kind of coming up, time to buy a new season. You got renewal programs where you're getting in there and reminding them. And I think critical seating updates and changes is a good one. Delivering special announcements from the team, making people feel good about the fact that they are a fan. And then, I think upselling to better seats, cross-selling new products and ticket offerings generally. And then I think there's one other that we see less usage around, but some post-game, beyond the pre and post-game stuff, it's payment collection. You got expired credit cards that are on file, things like that. So the AI can kind of help with that as well. And then sometimes there's referrals. So getting a current season ticket holder to refer to friends or other family and colleagues, and some promotions around that the AI is good at, doing, which just, again, all of it results in expanding the fan base and the fan loyalty in the end. And it's hugely successful. I mean, I don't think I see any team that isn't getting at least a 10x on their investment, in terms of real revenue dollar upside.
Jim Kaskade is the CEO of Conversica. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Bram. Really happy to join you.
That will do it for this episode. As always, the future is now. This is the Future Sport Podcast. I'm Bram Weinstein.